They say the internet brings people together, but sometimes those connections become nightmares. I'm about to share 3 true stories from my work as a cybersecurity investigator. Stories that changed how I view online marketplaces forever. First story, the surveillance house. It started with a simple Craigslist ad. Home security bundle, 4 HD cameras, great deal. Sarah and Mike, a young couple who just bought their first house, reached out to me after discovering something terrifying. They'd installed the cameras themselves, one at the front door, one in the backyard, one in the garage, and one in the living room. Everything seemed fine for the first month. Then Sarah noticed something odd about the living room camera's red light. It would blink even when their app showed it was off. Mike, being tech-savvy, decided to check the camera's network connections. What he found made his blood run cold. The cameras weren't just connecting to their home network, they were actively streaming to an external IP address. I traced that address back to the seller. He had maintained remote access to every camera he'd sold, dozens of them across the city. But it gets worse. We found folders on his server, labeled with buyers' addresses, filled with video clips. He'd been watching families for months, learning their routines. The police raid on his house revealed detailed plans for breaking into these homes. He knew exactly when people would be away, what valuables they had, even where they kept their spare keys. Sarah and Mike's folder was labeled Target 23, Ready. They moved 3 days later. Sometimes Sarah still covers all her cameras, just to be sure. Next story, the lock collector. When my friend Lisa lost her house keys, she did what most people would, searched Craigslist for a locksmith. The guy who showed up seemed professional enough. Changed her locks quickly, gave her a fair price. End of story, right? Wrong. 2 weeks later, her neighbor's security camera caught someone entering her house at 3 a.m. using a key. Nothing was stolen, but things were moved slightly, like someone had been looking around. Lisa called me in a panic. I set up surveillance equipment in her house that night. Sure enough, 3 a.m., the lock turns. But this time we're waiting. It was the locksmith. Turns out, he'd been running this scam for years. Change someone's locks, make an extra key, wait a few weeks, then start exploring their home while they sleep. Police found hundreds of labeled keys in his apartment, each with detailed notes about the residents' schedules and valuables. But the truly chilling part. In his workshop, we found a map, pins marking every house he'd serviced, over 300 locations, and on his computer, videos. He'd been recording his night visits. The last file was dated the night we caught him. Its name, Lisa's final visit. And finally, the last story, the roommate switch. This last story, I still have trouble talking about it, because it happened to me. I needed a roommate after a breakup. Found this girl, Jenny, on Craigslist. Perfect application, steady job, good references, seemed normal. First few months were fine. Then I started noticing small things. My clothes would be slightly out of place. My shampoo would be used when I was away. My friends would mention phone conversations with me that I'd never had. One day, I came home early from work. Jenny was in my room, wearing my clothes, sitting at my vanity, styling her hair exactly like mine. She'd even colored it to match. I confronted her. She turned around, smiled, and said, "Oh, you're home early, me." That's when I noticed the changes. She'd been subtly altering her appearance for months. Contact lenses matching my eye color, makeup to copy my features. She even had my ID in her purse, a near-perfect fake. The police investigation revealed the truth. Jenny didn't exist. 3 different women in other states reported the same story. A roommate who slowly tried to take over their lives. Each time she'd get close, then disappear, only to start over somewhere else. They never found her. Sometimes I still check my Craigslist roommate listing. It's still there, reposted every few months. Different names, different photos, but always looking for someone new to become. These days, I still investigate cybercrimes, but I never buy anything on Craigslist. Never sell anything either, because you never know who's really on the other end of that listing, or what they're really looking for. Remember, the internet doesn't just connect us to others. Sometimes it connects others to us.